Maya's looking at a number that's stopped feeling real, the kind that changes what a person could actually do with their life if they wanted to. Her phone's sitting face down next to it, one unread message from Luke she hasn't opened yet. She'll get to it. The number's better company right now and has been for a while. This Maya lost everything to a flaw in a hardware wallet, the kind that was never her fault and never showed up on any checklist. She's not telling that story again. What matters now is what she did after. Decided the bear market was ending, and that if she was going to hold anything beyond Bitcoin this time, she wasn't going to guess at which ones. No tips from a group chat, no coin because a stranger online seemed confident about it. Just a spreadsheet open at midnight and a list of rules she was about to write for herself before she risked a single dollar on any of it. The bear market's coming to an end, slowly, the way they always do, and Maya's looking at two options. Put everything into Bitcoin and wait, the way she trusts most. Or go wider this time, into alts as well. Knowing wider means more that can go wrong. She starts researching before she's decided anything, and that's how she gets it. Internet Computer, a coin that launched with real backing, serious money behind it, briefly worth more per token than most people's houses, on its very first day, the kind of debut that made headlines instead of needing them. And within a month, it had lost almost all of that. Years later, it still hasn't come close to recovering. Nobody involved was lying, nobody ran off with anything, it just never came back the way most things quietly don't. That's the night the rules start. She opens her journal instead of a note on her phone. Somehow that makes her feel less likely to break them. Rule 1, she writes. Real market cap. What the whole coin's actually worth, not just its price. Real volume, no exceptions. Rule 2, never touch anything that's made a new all-time low since the day it launched. 2 rules in, the next day, she meets Ellie and Luke for coffee, mostly to talk about anything other than spreadsheets. They're thinking about the bull market too, in their own way. Their plan is simpler than hers, buy whatever pumped hardest last cycle, since it's already proven it can run. Worked last time, Luke says, like that settles it. It gets Maya thinking about what her rules are actually protecting her from, which turns out to be exactly that sentence. She gets the journal back out that same evening. Keep that coffee in mind. Months from now, it's Luke's message sitting unread on her phone, and some part of her will already know why she hasn't opened it. Rule 3, never buy something because it's already pumped. That's the top talking, not the fundamentals. Rule 4, Bitcoin and Ethereum are always the core, no more than 15% in other coins. By the weekend, the habits leaked out of the spreadsheet entirely. She reorganizes her fridge on the same logic. Milk gets a floor, snacks get a hard ceiling, whatever's left rotates. 4 rules deep, she realizes she has a filter and a floor, but no actual way to move. No trigger telling her when to buy anything or sell it. Rules that only ever say no aren't a strategy, they're just caution with extra steps. It takes her the better part of a week to find an answer she actually trusts. She finds it in a 500-day cycle, the kind traders have quietly circulated for years. By roughly 500 days before the Bitcoin halving, the event every 4 years that cuts new Bitcoin supply in half overnight, sell roughly 500 days after it. It's tracked the last 3 cycles closer than she expected a rule this simple too. Bitcoin runs first in that cycle, almost always has historically. The alts follow later if they follow at all. Rule 5, back in the journal. Buy alts only when Bitcoin pulls back and the Fear and Greed Index, a real tool that scores the whole market's mood from 0 to 100, drops into extreme fear. Sell back into Bitcoin only when it swings all the way to extreme greed. Rule 6, twice a cycle, not once more. Rule 7, the last line on the page. 500 days after the halving, 80% sells back to stables. The rest stays in Bitcoin. 7 rules, that's the whole system. She spends the rest of the week running it against CoinMarketCap, rejecting candidate after candidate, 40 of them by the time she loses count. What's left is short enough to actually trust with real money. 4 months later, fear on the index drops to 10. The stock market's crashing. The US midterms are days away, and everyone's feed looks like the sky is falling. This is exactly what Rule 5 was written for. She buys alts through all of it, adjusting her portfolio back toward the split she wrote down weeks ago, hands steadier than she expected, glancing at Luke's messages about everything being over and not answering any of them. The election passes, the market turns. The bull run actually starts, Bitcoin leading exactly like it's supposed to. Except her alts don't just follow, they keep pace with it. Then start outperforming it, one of them doubling in a week that Bitcoin only managed a modest gain in. Every filter she rejected 40 candidates through, paying off on the handful she didn't. She stops watching the price and starts watching the balance instead, which turns out to be a completely different habit. One that doesn't spike her heart rate every time she opens the app. When greed creeps back in, she doesn't wait to be told twice. She pulls everything back into Bitcoin, bit by bit, DCA in motion, no hesitation, no second guessing the exit the way she once might have. That was cycle 1. She keeps going. Same monthly rebalance, same 7 rules, same discipline, whether the market's paying attention to her or not. A year later, fear hits 10 again. Everything's crashing, same as before, different headlines causing it this time. She does it all again, and this time it's almost boring, which turns out to be the entire point. By the time the 500 days are almost up, Bitcoin isn't the only thing anyone's talking about, $1 million thrown around like it's a formality. Her grandmother calls to ask about a meme coin. She overhears 2 strangers in a supermarket queue doing the same thing everyone else in the country seems to be doing that week. Greed on the index hits insanity, 95. She already knows what that means. She's known since Rule 7. 80% comes off the table into stable coins. She sells every green candle, locked in, untouchable, until the next cycle starts. 20% stays running in Bitcoin, still working, just quieter than it was. Just like she wrote it months before she needed it to be true. Rule by rule, night by night, without improvising once. It works better than she let herself expect it to. Of the top 100 cryptocurrencies by the time her cycle closes, 99 are still trading below their old all-time highs. Not down slightly, not recovering, give it time. Still under, most of them by a lot, years after their own best days. She's the exception, not the rule, and some part of her already suspected that before she checked the number properly. Luke's message, still unopened since the number that started all this, finally gets read. Wiped out, not carelessly, not chasing anything stupid, just on the wrong side of the same market Maya just spent 500 days quietly winning. Ellie, in the kitchen the next morning, has the same story with different numbers attached to it, delivered in the same flat voice people use when they've already decided not to make it anyone else's problem. Both of them know what Maya's been doing this whole time, which makes it worse, even though she's never once mentioned it. Turns out that was easier when there was nothing uncomfortable to not mention. There's no rule in her spreadsheet for this part. Rule 7 said stables or Bitcoin. It never said rent, and it never said a co-worker who won't admit he's not okay. She actually tries to write one anyway, out of habit more than hope. Gets 3 drafts into something with a percentage in it before admitting, there isn't a version of this that fits on a page. She built every part of this to survive the market, to never once let a feeling decide what happened to her money. Nobody ever asked her to plan for surviving her own conscience, and it turns out there wasn't a rule sitting ready for it either. So she doesn't fight it. She starts moving money the way she moved it all cycle. Quietly, without announcing it, no post about it, no version of the story where she gets to look generous. Except this time it isn't going back into Bitcoin at the top of a greed reading. It's going to Ellie, to Luke. Rent covered without either of them quite understanding how. A debt that quietly stops existing. A number in someone else's account that used to be a number in hers. Smaller and smaller, the balance she spent 500 careful days protecting from every mistake in the market, given away without a single rule telling her to, because some things were never going to fit in a spreadsheet in the first place. She followed every rule that kept her money safe. Nobody ever wrote one for what to do once she'd actually won. Subscribe for more. Fear at 20. Would you have the guts to buy the dip twice?